if you don't know what your ACR is, I'd argue that you don't truly understand your outbound engine. So ACR is your account conversion rate. So how many accounts do you need to reach out to in order to schedule an outbound meeting? This metric is really important for a couple of reasons. Number one, it allows you to standardize the way that you compare the performance of different outbound campaigns. And number two, it allows you to understand how far you can push outbound, right? So how far can we scale the outbound motion based on what our ACR is and based on what our total addressable market looks like. So let's look at the first one. How does ACR help us to compare the performance of different outbound campaigns? So if you've been running outbound, you'll have noticed that there's lots of different types of campaigns that you could set up, right? You could set up a campaign based on a trigger event. You could set up a campaign based on persona type within a given geography. You could set up a campaign based on intent data. And all of these different campaigns will perform at different levels and have different inputs in terms of the number of accounts that you could reach out to in a given time frame and the rate at which they're going to convert. And so just using sales qualified leads generated by each campaign isn't going to give you a true understanding of how effective each of the individual campaigns are that you are running, right? And so we need another metric that helps to standardize the performance across these campaigns. And a really good one to use is account conversion rate. So let's jump onto the computer and I'll walk you through a couple of examples of where this can be super helpful.
So when we're analyzing campaign performance, right, we might be tempted just to look at things in this kind of a view, right? How many SQLs did each of our campaigns generate this month or this quarter or whatever time frame we want to look at? But to really make decisions around where we should be allocating time or what levers we can pull to really maximize performance, we want to be diving deeper than this. And so what we might want to add right into this is the number of accounts that we worked to generate that result. Right, so in this example here was 1,500. On campaign 2, right, we worked 1,000 to generate 28. And on campaign 3, we worked 371 to generate 13. Okay, once we have that number, so how many accounts did we work, we can now figure out what our account conversion rate is, right? And this is where it gets interesting. So now we can see campaign 1, our account conversion rate was just under 2.5%. Campaign 2 was a little bit better, 2.8. And then campaign 3 was even better still at 3.5. So whereas before, if we were looking at these campaigns, we'd say, hey, look, campaign 1 and campaign 2 are performing well. Let's look to see if we can, drive up the volume inside of those campaigns. The one that's actually most interesting when you dig down is campaign 3, right? Because we've got the highest conversion rate, account conversion rate here. So the questions as a sales leader would be, right, okay, well, how could we maximize this number? Is there anything that we could do to drive up the number of accounts worked in this campaign? Because it is generating by far the best performance in terms of conversion rate. And so this is what we're talking about when we mean, we're able to compare these campaigns at a deeper level than just the number of SQLs that they're generating, right? Because there could be something that we could do here to increase the number of accounts that we work in this, whether it's scraping more data, whether it's doing other things in order to drive more accounts into the top of the funnel that we can then convert into SQLs at the bottom of the funnel.
The second reason that ACR is important is because it helps us to understand how far we can actually push outbound, right? How far can we scale this outbound engine? And to illustrate how it does that, I'll jump on the computer and walk you through an example.
So once we understand what our account conversion rate is, and we understand how large our TAM is, so how many accounts that there are that we could possibly sell to, we can start to calculate what we need to do in order to hit certain targets, and then also what would be possible if we pushed this engine out to the fullest extent, right? So the way that we can figure that out is by using this calculator. So you take the, let's say if we want to figure out a specific target, right? We want to hit 100 SQLs per quarter is our target. Okay, so we put that number in the top here. And then we find out how many total accounts that we can sell to within our TAM, and we put that number in here. Okay, then we take our current number of reps, the number of accounts that they're working per quarter at the moment, per rep. So then we get the total number of accounts that are worked, and then we take our account conversion ratio, which is 7%. So if we say we're booking 7% of our total accounts worked at the moment, that means that we're generating currently 63 SQLs. Okay, so if we want to hit this target of 100, right, we plug 100 in the top here, and then what this is going to do is it's going to calculate how many reps we need and how many accounts we need to work right across those reps in order to hit that number. Okay, so if we said our target SQLs was instead of 100, it was 120. Right, these numbers will change. It now tells us that we need to work, going to need 5.7, so 6 reps, and we need to work, 1,714 accounts in order to hit that number. And then if we said, okay, well, how far could we push this thing with the 5,000 accounts that we have and our current account conversion rate and the current number of accounts that reps are able to work, given our process, how far could we push it? Well, we could push it out to, 350 SQLs per quarter if we had 17 reps, right? And we worked all 5,000 of those counts every quarter. And so this is a way to help sanity check some of these assumptions or some of these targets that we're setting from an outbound perspective, right? Are these actually possible to hit based on the numbers that we're generating at the moment, right? We're not just pulling a number out of the sky. We're able to use some simple math to go, okay, well, is that achievable based on what we've done in the past and what we have available to us in the future?
Okay, so account conversion rate. If you're not tracking it, start tracking it today. It's going to allow you to understand how campaigns are performing in comparison to one another, and then also help you to understand how far you can push outbound based on your total addressable market and the conversion rates that you're currently achieving, and then also provide a bit of a sanity check or a guide to whether or not some of the targets that you might have for this year are going to be achievable based on those things.